All right, hello and welcome to the Vegan Luna podcast. I'm here with a very exciting guest who's from Kuwait. He's a humongous influencer in the vegan community in Kuwait, possibly one of the biggest. So I'm super excited to see and listen to his story and get a chance for all of you guys, especially our live viewers. We're live right now. Everyone a chance to get to know this guy and see what's up. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. And there's not much podcast, let alone vegan podcasts in the Middle East, so we appreciate you in the vegan community.
Yeah, are there any vegan podcasts? Yes,
in Kuwait.
Yeah, in Kuwait.
Yeah, and it's been good. You've been vegan for 2 years, and you know how it is being vegan in Kuwait. People have the mentality that being vegan is hard because they don't know what to eat. But once you do, you realize that you can be vegan anywhere, and you're the best proof. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a misconception that smaller countries or places that they call food deserts, we're literally in a desert.
Even though we're a desert.
Even so, it still is not that challenging. Really, the beginning when you're trying to learn what to eat and where to shop. But once you get your rhythm down, it's just like riding a bike or driving the car. Just like anything that's new, it takes a little bit of time. And once you get it down, it's you don't think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. So Kuwait, you're from Kuwait.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah. So how's it been living in Kuwait for you?
So I study abroad in Cambridge. I'm finishing my PhD studies, obviously focused in nutrition. And I do really appreciate the vegan lifestyle over there because you do have more exposure to products, but that's just like the fancy expensive products that you don't really need on a daily basis.
Yeah, your Beyond Meat burgers, Impossible burgers.
All of those. And it makes me appreciate and go back to the core of what I essentially need to be vegan. So then when I come back here, I really appreciate the products that we have here because we do have quite a lot. I'm surprised sometimes of what's available, like all this.
And it's seems like a new restaurant or a new option opening up every few weeks.
I know, right? Every time I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Yeah, so the way I usually start out the show, which is actually kind of new, I've been starting with the last few, I call them quick vegan questions. Okay. So I'm going to ask you some questions that are pretty quick.
Go ahead.
And they're related to veganism, so you can answer off the top of your head.
Okay.
All right, so the first one is, what is your favorite vegan documentary and why?
I like Hungry for Change. It's actually not a vegan documentary, but it is focused on the big picture, not just the vegan doesn't just shed the light on being vegan, just how our food changed from the past, 100 years, past century, and where that has led us at the moment. And I think it's important for everyone to see that and to realize that it's not just about being vegan, it's about leading a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Along with being vegan.
Absolutely. Yeah. So where can people find this documentary?
I watched it on Netflix. When I studied, I used to study in the States for my bachelor's, and that's where Netflix was just popping up at that point.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's crazy over there.
Yeah, so it's on. I hope it is. I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon, so they can check it out over there.
Yeah, that's great, and I think it's an interesting point because a lot of times people think that the way that food system is now, or the food system, or the way food is just the way it's always been. Because you don't know until you start studying the history and you realize, wow, it's changed a lot and very recently. The way that we eat now is not like our ancestors ate, not at all, not even the last 100 years. It's completely dramatically different. All right, great. So next question, who is your favorite vegan celebrity?
Vegan celebrity? I don't have one.
That could be an activist or it could be a doctor, like a plant-based doctor or something like that. Someone that just you just love listening to because they really help. Yeah.
I do like Michael Greger. Dr. Michael Greger.
Dr. Greger, yeah. And why is that?
Because I took an online course and I listened to a lot of his studies. I have a whole pack of DVDs of a bunch of studies, and I found him really beneficial. I like also Colin Campbell. I've read a couple of his books, and there's an Instagram account called Plant Proof. I like that one. Pretty much vegan celebrities.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So what is your favorite vegan meal? You got to choose one.
That's tough.
You're gonna die
There's
tomorrow, and you have to eat one.
There's favorite fruit. There's favorite meal.
Okay, meal. I guess is the question.
I do like Mexican food.
Oh my gosh.
So thankfully, like, just some guac and beans and rice is my
and
favorite.
rice and
Simple.
tortillas.
Yeah, just my simple go-to meal.
You know what? I think I'm with you, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Southern California.
Yeah.
So Mexican food is everywhere.
Everywhere.
I practically grew up on Mexican food, primarily.
Yeah.
All right, great. So what is your favorite animal?
Horse. Definitely.
Horse.
Yeah.
Wow, why?
Well, I grew up, I actually ride, I do show jumping, and I grew up next to horses, and I understand them, I've trained them, along with dogs, just, your typical pets.
Yeah.
But I love all animals, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, not all vegans are animal lovers. They tend to just say, I don't want to hurt them. Some.
You don't want to hurt them.
Some,
yes.
yeah. Some, they're not necessarily just animal lovers, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. So you already answered the next question, basically. So what does vegan mean to you? What does that even mean, the term vegan?
It means being aware of the choices that you make in terms of your food, your thoughts, your behavior, how you treat others and animals also. So it's not just, if you've noticed, it's not just food, which a lot of people might have mistaken vegan for just, focusing on the food aspect of it and forget everything else. So that's my question to that. Yeah.
You said what vegan means to you, and I think that's amazing. And everyone has their own term, and sometimes it gets a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Sometimes like, oh, it means this to me, or it means this to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
And I always go back to the definition, like that's accepted by the vegan society, right? And they say basically, and not exactly, but basically say to cause the least amount of harm as practically possible to animals, including food, clothing, aesthetics, and entertainment, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I like to use that one is because it really makes a clear path and a clear goal that all of us can strive by. Sometimes people say, oh, if you're driving down the road and you hit some bugs, just forget it. You might as well eat some burgers, because you already messed up. It's not about messing up or failing or making a mistake.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's about trying to do your best. You're actively aware, you're learning, and you're trying to do your best. I mean, it was probably like 8 months into being vegan that I realized, holy crap, there's a lot of cruelty in my products, in my bathroom. If I'm going to talk about, I don't want to hurt animals, I don't want to harm them, but I got some toothpaste that
There's some animal testing.
There's some animal testing, and then they ended up killing those animals. It's kind of not quite aligning with my beliefs and my actions. So for me, it's about that and doing your best to make the least amount of harm. And it doesn't mean that you'll make mistakes along the way. Sometimes you eat bread and you're like, it has L-cysteine inside of it, and you're just like, wait, that's bird feathers, and so, or whatever. It could be multiple things. But usually from animals. And so you realize, I just won't eat that anymore. You learn. And I think it takes time. So why did you go vegan? Like, what's the reason for that for you?
So it all started back when I was studying my bachelor's. Back when I was studying in the States. I studied in Kansas State. And I think about my second year, I watched a Netflix documentary. It's called Hungry for Change. And it's the same one that I just shared. It talks about how our food changed in the past 100 years. And then it also talked about just a little part about having a juice cleanse, which there's a lot of backlash about that nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
But I did try a juice cleanse for 5 days.
Yeah.
And it was my first time getting my first juicer, getting, like a huge amount of fruits and vegetables, cutting them, chopping them, peeling them, and juicing, getting involved with the process of making my own juice. And after 5 days, I felt good. And I just naturally found myself leading more towards vegetables and vegan food. And I was excited to try this new taste and this new lifestyle. And a couple of years later, I just found myself I guess I'm vegan then, if that's all I'm eating, without having to choose and overnight say I want to be vegan tomorrow. So that was my journey. and it wasn't perfect. It was looking back at it was like vegetarian, then slowly going into vegan, and I've tried a couple of different ways to be vegan.
Yeah.
So one of them is raw vegan.
Yeah.
I've tried those, tried that, and yeah, up to today I think I'm vegan for about 5 or 6 years.
Wow, that's
since
amazing.
2013. Like, am I doing the math right? It's 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So you said that it was it challenging in the beginning? Because I know some people face some challenges, especially like 5 days. You totally cut out a lot of the things that you were eating before, pretty much everything. Was that a challenge?
Well, being a foodie, thank God Oreos are vegan.
Yeah, in the beginning, right?
In the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think the only challenge was not knowing how to do vegan the right way, because just like any diet, there's some certain guidelines that you have to go through and make sure that you're feeding your body instead of harming yourself. I think reading books made the challenge less of a challenge, made it less of a challenge. So pretty much like that was the challenge, knowing exactly what to eat.
Yeah, I think the books are very important, like How Not to Die or something by Dr. Greger. I have that one.
Yeah.
The hard copy.
Yeah.
And so for something like that, it really does help because it really puts things into perspective. It tells you different stories.
Yeah.
And you learn from someone that's kind of done it.
Yeah.
So it's not too much of a challenge when that comes to play. And then some people say that the challenge is taken away when you think of the animals and you're like, what's harder, like my taste buds changing just a little bit or what they go through, right? To make a meal or food on your plate, right?
Yeah.
So tell me more about your studies and what you've been studying. It's been nutrition and Cambridge for PhD. That's sounds very prestigious.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that, and what are some things you're learning, and how does it conflict with what you've been reading on the side that isn't part of your studies?
Okay, so I chose to study in Aberdeen. It's a city in Scotland, and it has one of the biggest research units and nutrition research units in the world. It's known as the Rowett Institute, and a lot of research comes out of there. It's like a beehive. Like everyone's busy researching and giving birth to new knowledge and all of that. So I studied human nutrition for my master's, and now I'm stepping into my PhD, which is going to be focused around green tea and fat oxidation. So
Interesting.
burning fat and how that affects it. There have been studies that prove that, and I'm adding some specific knowledge on how to take green tea and make it more valuable to use. So pretty much those are my studies so far. And I plan that when I come back to Kuwait to teach, not just in university, but also on social media, to give people value, to educate the public.
Yeah, it's interesting when you go to school and you get your degree and you make a point of nutrition, right? And then you use it for good, not only the things that you have learned in school, but also maybe some of the things that you've learned outside. Like you said, you read a lot of books.
Yeah.
Is there any time where like there's conflicting data where it's like, the book that I read from this doctor, or this plant-based doctor, and what my school is teaching me, my education is teaching me about nutrition? Is there anything that doesn't mesh well, or it's contradictory?
Yes, and yes.
And how do you react and how do you feel about that?
I'll tell you, because I would like to also give a tip for people who are watching and listening, that when you have conflicting information and you have no idea what to do, to be safe, if you can't find out the right answer, I would eliminate the product. For example, there's been a lot of conflicts about soy, about flax seeds, about broccoli, about I can go on, and it's up to each person to. For me, I can live without soy, I can live without flax seeds, I can get my omegas somewhere else, if that's that's how I deal with it. Doesn't mean that that's how other people do it, but I found that it's have been really helpful for me to do that. It's very, very easy for me to do it.
So basically, when in doubt, like about the health or the nutrition content or the dangers of a particular product, it's just best to leave it out.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. And especially that my life does not depend on it, so why make a big deal out of it?
Yeah.
And most importantly, like, do not, say that the nutrition field is lacking. It's already a complex field as it is, and it's trying to, give people the information that they need. So just take what you need and live your life.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some of the things that you're learning in school related to nutrition that can really help people that you really like?
Okay, so I learned that there's no one diet that works. Even though I'm vegan and I promote a vegan lifestyle, plant-based lifestyle, I've learned that each individual has their own way of eating, and there's no diet or lifestyle that can be forced on anyone. So there has been a lot of studies that prove that having a plant-based lifestyle is the way to go to live a healthier life. At the same time, there are other studies that show other diets with health benefits. So I think the most important thing that I learned is being open-minded and not hating on other diets and other people just because they eat differently.
Yeah, for
That's what I've
sure.
learned.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So what kind of benefits did you receive?
Of being vegan?
Yeah, what kind of benefits for you personally?
I do a blood test every 3 months, just for the fun of it. I know that I'm fine, but I just like it.
No, that's very good practice.
Yeah, every 3 months usually. It's what we recommend. And for me, I've been good, and I get all my vitamins and my daily fiber and all the things that keep you running for the next 40, 50 years without any issues. So energy has been a big one for me. I noticed that in the past when I eat pastries or a heavy breakfast, I don't function very well. I feel like sleeping. Once I switch that to smoothies, I don't even drink coffee anymore.
Yeah.
What is coffee? Like, I don't need coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do enjoy it for the taste of it, but I don't really need it.
Yeah, not like that. I need to be stimulated to wake up.
Yeah, I don't depend on coffee. And pretty much. Obviously, clearer skin, better sleep, a regular, no constipation, which is a big one. I think people don't realize that they're constipated, and once they go vegan, they're like, oh, okay. So that's what being healthy feels like, because they do get enough fiber. So it's one of those things you have to try it to know how good it feels.
Yeah, you realize that you poop like 5 times a day.
Yes,
and it's okay.
And that's normal.
And that's normal.
And that's
right?
normal, yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how your body is supposed to function.
If it's like one day without, you're like, something's very wrong.
Yes.
Right? It's like something's wrong. I ate too much bread or something.
Yeah. And I've become more in touch with my body. Like, I do listen to my body more after I became vegan. And I think that's important for everyone to listen to their own bodies.
Definitely. So what would you say are some things now within your free time, within your whatever time you spend, that you would say is being active, where it's like being active for the animals or being active for people or the planet? Yeah. What kind of things and kind of activities do you do?
Do I do for like as a vegan or
as
just
a vegan,
in general?
As a vegan, like advocating for animals, right? Like how are you being active, basically?
Well, basically, whenever someone tells me to kill a fly in the room, I just do it. It's honestly like
it doesn't have to be direct. It can be indirect. It's like, I cooked a bunch of food at this event.
Yes.
And I shaped a lot of people's minds.
That's one
and
of
now they are cooking more plant-based, and in turn that means less animals are dying.
So whenever I'm back home, I do have cooking classes, vegan workshops, and I really work hard to try to make sure that the food tastes good, because some people, that's their first impression of vegan food, and to make the food easy to go back home and cook yourself. That's one of the things that I do, in addition to sharing recipes on social media, on Instagram, and just showing people that being vegan can be done anywhere, like while you're traveling, while you're pregnant, while like on your busiest days, it can be done, and not to give up.
Yeah, absolutely. So the cooking classes, and how many people usually show up to those?
We've usually had around 20, 25 people per class, which is a big number.
Yeah, that's great.
And we're actually planning to have more classes with smaller groups, just so that there's more one-on-one interaction with the people.
Yeah, I filmed one of the classes for the long table.
Oh, you did?
Right? Yeah, I did at one of their vegan events at B Cafe.
Oh, okay.
And I just haven't posted it yet, but I have a lot of footage from that one.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized watching them, watching them cook and watching them prepare, is exactly what you said. Is the bigger the class, is the less one-on-one time. I could see some kind of standing around and thinking like, what do I do next? Like I already cut my veggies. Like now what's next? And they're just waiting for the next step. And the people leading it sometimes don't get a chance to see all the people that are operating in it. And I work in restaurants for 15 years, so I understand and training and developing. And the bigger the group,
I love your pizza, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right? It's amazing. The bigger the group, though, is the more challenging you get to really get them to practice and the one-on-one, and you question, especially for event, how much did they take away from this? Mm-hmm. You know, because oftentimes it's the repetition that you don't think about. And I can show someone how to make something in a restaurant or do a certain task in a restaurant 100% and have them do it at one time, and then I let them go. It's going to be completely messed up. They'll remember like 10%. Yeah. And that's something to think about. Maybe you do follow-up classes, you know, potentially something to think about. But what I learned is that the reps and doing it over again is really what solidifies it and gets it kind of in their head.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
But I mean, I don't know. You could have cheat sheets or stuff like that, you know, like little small parts of the recipe that could be easy to make at home or connect it with your videos.
Yes.
Right. Like I have a video for this. You could watch it.
Exactly.
If you ever don't know how to make this one, stuff like that. It's always ways to expand and grow. Yeah. But that's the biggest thing that I noticed for teaching someone. Like if it's their learning, like it's always the hands-on. Yeah, it's always the hands-on and the tactical that helps you learn a lot more. Yeah. But everyone's different a little bit in visual learners and auditory learners, that sort of stuff. Yeah, exactly. All right. So what else do you do? So I know your Instagram is really big. Yeah. So I know you do a lot through there. What kind of things do you help people there?
So right now I'm focused on food. Yeah. And that's how I chose to portray being vegan is about or how to help people to become vegans. Food, I mean, that's a huge one. Nowadays we have a lot of products that are vegan, skin products, personal care products, even like furniture that's vegan. Yeah. So for people who are into that route, they can even go there, you know, be vegan. But I've just focused on food, and soon there's going to be more nutrition stuff on there, and I'm going to be focusing on the key areas of nutrition to help you go vegan and make sure that you're doing it the right way.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting you say the right way. Like, what is the right way? Like, what does that really mean?
So the body has needs. Yeah. So there's the basic needs, the basic nutritional needs. The right way for me is making sure that you give your body your daily amount of energy, fats, proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. So that's making sure that you get all of that in.
What are some common pitfalls that typical people run into when they go vegan and they're lacking in a certain nutrient?
I think not a lot of people eat as much greens as they should because it has a lot of B vitamins that are, you know, hard to get elsewhere in your food. So that's a big one. How to enjoy lettuce and kale and spinach and all of that. Yeah. That's a pitfall.
That's the biggest one. Is there any particular nutrient that sometimes vegans lack that they might not get enough of?
I think girls need to focus a bit more on making sure they have their iron levels. And then protein. I do have a protein supplement that I use daily personally for myself, and I encourage others to do so. I think if you make sure that your food today doesn't look like your food yesterday, and you keep that going throughout the week, throughout the month, then you're good. Because that way you're just, you know, getting all your different variety of nutrients, which just, you know, it's like a foolproof way to make sure you have all of those nutrients in.
Yeah, I know a big one is B12 as well. Mm-hmm. And that's a big hot topic.
Yes.
And why is that?
Well, B12 is a vitamin that's in the soil. The bacteria in the soil make it. And the animal industry, they inject animals, so the animals actually don't get it. Like, they don't have it. A lot of people say, vegans, they don't have B12 because they don't eat steak or whatever. And as you grow older, your ability to absorb B12 decreases. So usually I recommend it. It's one of the things that I recommend is B12, along with vitamin D also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vitamin D typically from the sun, right?
Yeah.
And so typically people are in the sun.
You'll be surprised how people like our country, like I'm talking about Kuwait, how much people are vitamin D deficient because we run away from the sun.
Yep, absolutely.
We
I
run
spend 99% of my time indoors.
Indoors, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really common for most people.
Yeah.
Even in the wintertime, because you're so used to indoors, it's not that different. It's not like I want to get outdoors or I need to get outdoors. Yeah, so that's great. Is there anything else that you want to add that maybe you do on the side?
I've noticed that a lot of people don't understand what vegan is all about. And I hope that your podcast, is shedding the light. And I just encourage vegans who are watching this to be easy and keep an open mind, and to not look at what other people are eating and focus on what they're doing, because that's their number one effect on animals in the world. That's what they're interested in, and to lead by example. Rather than to force any information on.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many people realize that they have to focus on them first.
Yeah.
And you're right. Sometimes people are focused so much on what others are doing or what they're not doing. Like sometimes people say, "Oh, I just can't get that great food like you," or that sort of stuff. And it's not about that. Like that's part of it, and that can be beneficial. But that's not necessary. Some people say, "I don't have these vegan burgers or this vegan ice cream or that sort of stuff," and that's not the purpose. It can be a diet, but it's not really a diet by definition. It's about
it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, And I always say, sometimes people say like, "Oh, I'm not vegan anymore." It's like, for me, it's a stance against animal abuse, and I don't think you can one day wake up and say, I want to pay for animal abuse.
Yeah.
And the day before you said I didn't want to pay for animal abuse. It's kind of hypocritical.
Yes.
From that standpoint, especially if we don't have to, and there's always survival situations, but we're not in survival situations very often. It's very, very rare. All right. So I think this is great. And I think you helped a lot. And like you said about the podcast and sharing, my goal is to help those that are listening, learn from someone like you that is an expert in their field, someone that's doing good work. And I really want to, before we wrap up, just a couple of things. One thing is, what have you noticed in Kuwait? Because I know sometimes people are interested in Kuwait and some of the changes here in Kuwait since you lived here.
Well, being a vegan in Kuwait is becoming a lot easier. That a lot of restaurants have vegan options now. They actually call them vegan, and usually, maybe a couple of years ago, it wasn't even on menu. It was on the side, like, oh yeah, sure, we can take off the sauce, or we can take off the cheese and make that vegan. But to see restaurants making an effort to put a vegan and print that on their menus is really encouraging for the future, for the future of being vegan in Kuwait. So I definitely think that the light is green for us to keep practicing our own lifestyles and making sure that we have the resources we need to do it happily and successfully.
That's great. Is there anything else that there's one big thing that you don't want the viewers to forget or to remember, or something you want to add? That's just one thing you don't want them to forget.
It's kind of cheesy, but don't forget to smile.
Yeah, you know what? I was just reading a book right now.
Yeah.
It's called Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. and he came from nothing. And one of his, it's a book about habits and how to build these habits that'll make you successful. It's just called Millionaire Success Habits. But it could be for anyone that wants to be successful.
Yeah.
And one of his biggest habits was smiling.
Smiling, yeah.
And how that makes an impact on others and people around you. And it's so true. I mean, we hear it all the time, but it's cheesy. But at the same time, that's a good one. It's very, very impactful. Yeah, that's great. Well, where can people find you? So people are listening and they love your story and they want to follow you and continue to see how you progress and get your master's degree and open up hopefully your own business. So I want to do all that I can to my best effort to try to add value to people, whether it's recipes, nutritional information, workshops, and they can find me on Aziz is Vegan. That's my handle on Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube. And hope you enjoy my content and actually find value in it and not just press that like button. I'm not interested in like. I'm interested in actually benefiting from what I offer. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Reach out to this guy. He has a lot of nutrition information. He's holding back right now because he's technically a student, but he's the man when it comes to nutrition. He can help you with anything. If you want to do this right, you want to make sure you don't make any mistakes. You can definitely hit this guy up on Instagram, YouTube, or Snapchat. Okay. Thank you for having me today. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And have a great rest of your week. Thank you.